Okay, so look, let's come on to our backs to begin. Take your time, get comfortable. You can have the legs straight or bent. So we'll start with 10 deep breaths, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And the breath is strong and it's in fairly rapid succession. Now, if you feel like it's too much and you don't want to do it, that's also fine. This is always an invitation. It's never, you choose. So just very simple, 10 deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and we just come back to the normal breath after that. And you push the breath out, particularly at the end of the exhale. So you feel that engagement of the belly and the diaphragm. And as you come back to the natural breath and you notice, you're feeling what's happening and moving through the body. And there might be a lightheadedness, there might be pins and needles, but you'll also notice your capacity to be has increased. And this is such an interesting phenomenon in our lives. And this is really the work of suffering in our lives. This is when we bring suffering into the conscious experience, it becomes fuel. It's like this is what, this word alchemy, this is what it means. This is turning lead into gold. If it's unconscious, the sympathetic gets away with all kinds of drama and story and suffering and perpetuation. But when we bring it into the conscious, it builds us. But we've got to decide what's appropriate for us. So you make the call. I can give you instruction, but you make the call. No, this is enough, or this is enough, or oh, I'm okay with that. You've got to feel into what your body is willing to do. We don't want to shock our system. So if you're comfortable with it, we'll go for another 10 breaths. This time, at the end of your 10th exhalation, there's no inhale for as long as you can do that. So even as you're holding the breath out and you get to the point where you want to take a breath, the invitation is, can you soften or rest for a microsecond there? And it's not about forcing, straining, enduring. It's just noticing that point at which you're uncomfortable, seeing if you can consciously relax a little in that moment for a moment, and then you come back to your natural breath again. Okay? So all of it's an exploration. We know we can breathe whenever we need to. Let's try it. 10 deep breaths. So as you get to that point, you're holding the breath out, rest, soften. And when you need to breathe, you just come back to the natural breath. And again, you just observe, you just witness, you notice. Okay, we're going to do one more round. So the same thing that we've done so far, the 10 deep breaths. At the end of the 10th exhalation, we're going to pause without inhaling for as long as we can. As we get to that point at which we will feel the urge to breathe, we're really seeing, can we relax a little? And it doesn't matter how long that is. Whatever you feel is acceptable. And when you need to breathe, this time, you take one deep breath, and we're going to hold that breath for about 10 seconds. And then we come back to the natural breath. Yeah? Let's go. So again, you're resting as you pause without inhaling when you need to take that breath, deep breath for 10 seconds. So take your time. When you do come back to your natural breath, I'm going to get you to bend your knees and bring the soles of your feet together and let the two knees drop apart. Revelation must be terrible with no time left to say goodbye. Imagine that moment, staring at the still waters with only the brief tremor of your body to say you are leaving everything and everyone you know behind. Being far from home is hard, but at least we are all exiled together. Being far from home is hard, but you know, at least we are all exiled together. When you open your eyes to the world, you are on your own for the first time. No one is even interested in saving you now, and the world steps in to test the calm fluidity of your body from moment to moment, as if it believed you could join its vibrant dance of fire and calmness and final stillness. As if you were meant to be exactly where you are, as if, like the dark branch of a desert river, you could flow on without a speck of guilt, and everything everywhere would still be just as it should be. As if your place in the world mattered, and the world could neither speak nor hear the fullness of its own bitter and beautiful cry without the deep well of your body resonating in the echo. Knowing that it takes only the first terrible word to make the circle complete. Revelation must be terrible, knowing you can never hide your voice again. Revelation must be terrible, knowing you can never hide your voice again. Bring the two knees back up together. So the 2 feet are on the floor, your 2 feet are about hip distance apart, as are the legs. And then just for a moment, without moving the feet, spread the toes, grip your mat and release. Spread the toes, grip the mat and release. And just feel the toes, the feet working in this way. And then grip with your toes and feel what happens through the soles of the feet, through the arches of the feet. Just notice that engagement. So as you grip down with the toes, the arches lift up and engage. Muscle and bone begin to reconnect, to come home and embrace each other. Without moving your feet, can you pull them towards your hips and feel that engagement moving from the feet now through the legs and into the hips? And as you sustain that engagement, can you press the bum down so the arch in the lower back might deepen a little, similar to the arch of the feet? I don't want you to work too much in any one direction, and if you are, that will come as pain. So just enough effort to feel this engagement happening in the body. Now, as you maintain that work through the feet, legs and hips, can you begin to take a few deeper breaths into the back and into the sides of the ribs? And even as you're taking those deep breaths, with this idea of opening and expanding the upper body. So the feet, legs and hips are very foundational. They're how we, through the physical body, anchor, create a sense of safety, access the parasympathetic nervous system, and then this is in turn how the body allows us to unfold and open. So as you're taking those deep breaths, possibly even shuffling the shoulders a little bit toward the ears, just seeing can you get a little longer. You might need to lift and lengthen the head a little away from the hips. Just explore what space might be available for you in the upper body. And again, none of this is strained or forced. Of course, there's effort as you engage muscle. And then let everything relax. Let everything soften for a moment. And again, just feel. So particularly in those moments in which we come into a complete softening, can you simply be conscious, be present? And this is one of the deficits of our modern society, is that a lot of our softer moments are unconscious. You know, we go to sleep, it's unconscious. We sit in front of the TV, it's unconscious. So when we soften, when we really allow the body to decompress and to dilate and we're present, these are the magical moments. These are when the body, the system of the body opens to something bigger, becomes much more receptive to allow life, this life force, to move into places that may have been closed or stuck or protected. And the work that we're doing, the way we will move and engage the body, all support this unfolding process within us. Grip with the toes again. Without moving, pull the feet towards your hips, press the bum down, feel the arch in the back develop. Breathe into the ribs and fill that space, widening of the ribs and the shoulders, even breathing into the armpits. Notice the head and begin to press the back of the head down into the floor, and that's going to engage the back of the neck. And then to deepen the arch of the neck, slowly lift your chin a little further away from your chest. Now, the head quite often doesn't know how far to go, doesn't know where to be, not just in terms of the physical experience of our heads. So I encourage you to move slowly, just to the point where you feel the front of your throat feels a little longer than usual. That's usually far enough. And then, can you sustain those places that you're working through the feet, through the bum pressing down, and through the back of the head pressing down? And just stay with that and steady the breath. If you need to back off a little, feel free to do that. Just maintain all of this just for 5 more breaths. Steady breath. Slow, steady breath. And then let it all soften. Let it all release. Let it all release. And just be here, be soft, feel and notice. Again, this idea that part of the experience of life is suffering, or we could translate that as work or effort, and that when we use that skillfully, when we perceive it in particular ways, frame it in particular ways, it actually becomes what we need to take our journey of going deeper. It's what we need to do what we're designed to do in this life. Each of us is on this journey home to ourselves, and part of that road is always going to be rocky. But if we can acknowledge that, if we can recognize that, if we can train our mind to see it in that way, it becomes a very different experience. And it's not, again, that we go looking for suffering, but when it arises, we're learning how to meet it with maturity. Okay, so this time let's take the arms up and wrap the arms around us so we're hugging ourselves. Try to get the hands on the ribs rather than on the arms or shoulders. And then the first thing I want you to do is just begin to breathe more deeply. And you're breathing into the hands or the sides of the ribs, wherever they are. Just slow, deep, steady breath. What tends to be difficult for us to experience, because we come from a society, a culture of a sympathetic, dominant culture in which protection is the kind of the main arc of the movement of our society. And of course, the sympathetic nervous system tightens, it contracts. So we don't experience fullness in that place. So what tends to be elusive for us is our experience of fullness in terms of the physical experience of it, And even in terms of, those deeper experiences of I am full, I'm complete, I'm worthy. So as you take those deep breaths and the ribs expand outward and you feel them, the bones of the ribs expand out and they create a tautness through the skin. It's all connecting and expanding. So it's knowing what it feels like to be full. And ultimately, we're looking for ways of accessing the fullness with less and less and less effort. That's kind of the trajectory of our journey. In the beginning, because we're pushing through resistance, there is effort. But the more you do it, the softer the resistance becomes and the more accessible the fullness comes. Okay, now, we'll stay connected to the hands, the arms, the ribs, the fullness. We'll grip at the toes again. We'll pull the feet toward us. We'll press the bum down and feel the arch in the back deepen. We'll press the back of the head down. We'll tilt the chin a little bit away from the chest. We might notice the back getting lighter on the floor. That's perfect. Can you maintain all of that work and then again, those deep breaths into the ribs? The fullness of the ribs. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we let everything soften, even releasing the arms, letting the elbows drop down to the floor. Now, with the knees bent, bring the two legs together. Let's just take the left leg over the right leg, all the way over, thigh over the thigh. We'll move the right foot a little to the left, we'll move the hips a little to the left, and we'll let the two legs drop over toward the right. Now, this can be a big twist, so if you want to support the legs, if you want to put some cushions underneath them, feel free to do whatever you need to do to find your capacity to be in the position. And obviously that's, again, revealing that quality of holding. So there'll be tightness somewhere that you'll be noticing. But you also want to be connected to a quality of ease. So your demeanor, your attention has that spacious awareness, that frequency of space to it. That frequency of allowing. And that's then what you breathe into the holding places, the tighter places. You're breathing that spaciousness into them. Take your time. A few more breaths here. Okay, so the left leg, we just begin to extend it over toward the right. Just stretch it out. So as you do that, the back leg, the right leg, just gets to relax on the floor, drop down to the floor. You extend the left leg over to the right as far as it'll go, and then begin to move the foot and the toes. Just even moving the foot in circles or moving it, tilting at one side and then the other. Just feeling. And then just moving the top of the leg from the knee to the foot, just bend the knee and extend again, and bend and extend. And then as you extend this time, maintain that and take the leg all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. As you do that, let the other foot, the right foot, come onto the floor, so the right knee is also pointing up. And we're going to hold the back of the left leg with the two hands. Now, as you hold the back of the left leg, notice where the belly, lower back are. The tendency is the lower back wants to drop down here. I want you to see, can you do the work we did earlier? The foot on the floor grips, pulls towards you, and you're trying to press the bum down and create a little arch in the lower back. Even if the top knee bends a little bit more, that's absolutely perfect. So the bum is actively pressing down, creating the arch in the lower back. And then very simple, that extended leg, that left leg, let's bend and extend the leg again. And then extend, even point the toes up. Whatever tension or discomfort's there, just breathe as if you could breathe right into it. Soften the face, relax your jaw, your shoulders. And then release the hands, bring the foot back to the floor, 2 feet on the floor. Okay. Let's cross the right leg all the way over the left leg, thigh over thigh. We'll move the foot and the hips over to the right, and we'll let the leg drop over toward the left. And again, you might want to put some cushions underneath the legs, whatever's appropriate for you. Breathe into what you're meeting. Breathe right into what you're meeting. Okay, so the right leg, we're going to extend it over toward the left. So you let the left leg just relax on the floor, drop down. Move that right foot around. And then can we bend and extend the right leg? So we're just bending and extending at the knee. And then extend the leg and bring it all the way up toward the sky, and also the left leg, foot on the floor, knee pointing up. We'll hold the back of the right leg with the two hands. And we bend and extend. Again, remember arching the lower back, so pressing the bum down. You might do that action of working the foot on the floor, pulling it toward the hips. Bend and extend. And then extend and point the toes up. And then release the hands, bring the foot to the floor, 2 feet on the floor. So even taking a moment and just feeling the body. Alan Watts has this beautiful phrase that you're under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago, referring to our transitory nature, that we are continuously shifting. Everything is in motion. You know, we think of ourselves as these personalities, and yet they're all in motion. And in fact, the only thing that gets rigid is the programming, the patterning that we adopt and calcify in our systems. Of course, we're interested in dissolving those. But the same principle is true of the physical body. It's not a solid structure. I know we experience that most of the time. But when we move and do these practices, we get to feel more of the pulse that moves through us. We're resensitizing ourselves. Okay, let's do a little bit more hip work. Let's cross the left ankle this time over the right thigh. Again, we'll move the foot and the hips over to the left, and we drop the two legs over toward the right. We're going to hold the left ankle if it's accessible. So if you find the whole left side needs to kind of shrink to get to the foot or the ankle, don't bother. It's not a big deal if it's relatively easily accessible. So either way, the left foot stays where it is, and the left knee, the top knee, begins to tilt away, and that'll bring you into some of the holding in the left hip. And then your job is to be in that space, to meet what's there, to bring that quality of I am full, I am spacious, into that holding, into the tightness, into the resistance. Breathe. Few more breaths here. Let the left leg relax. Very simple. You just lift the left foot, drag the leg over the right leg. Bring the two legs back to where we began. And again, before we go to the second side, take a moment just to notice, to feel. And now we'll take the right ankle over the left thigh, move the foot and the hips over to the right, and we'll drop the legs toward the left. So we're going to then possibly hold the right ankle, the right foot. Now you might not need to do anything else, and you may already be connected to tightness, holding. Feel free to just pause here and breathe. If you want to go a little deeper, the top knee begins to tilt away from you. These are not big movements, but they're internal. You feel them from the inside. Breathe into what you're meeting. Stay with the breath and stay with your body. Okay, perfect. So let the top leg relax. We'll just lift that right foot over and slowly bring ourselves back. Everything comes back to center. When you get there and the feet are on the floor again, just take a moment to feel. And you might notice subtle shifts or changes in the body, but equally, even if you're not noticing anything, you're still in process. You're still developing. You're still growing the sensitivity. Because the numbness we have in terms of our relationship to, our body, our emotions, whatever, when we pay attention, even if we're noticing the numbness, that in itself is a beautiful step forward. Let's bring the soles of the feet together again. Let the two knees drop apart. If this is painful, don't do it. Or you put cushions underneath the legs to support them. Just notice the breath. Just be with the breath. Natural breath. Breathe through the nose. Okay, bring the two knees back. Okay, so we're going to roll over to the right side, and then we're going to come all the way up onto our hands and knees, onto all fours. Great. Okay, so as you get onto the hands and knees, very simple, we're just going to sway a little. Let the hips sway. Tune back into the breath. Let the shoulders shrug a little. Comfortable, easy movement. Lower back belly soft. So if you'd imagine when we were on our backs, we were pressing the bum down to the floor. So in a sense, in this position, it's almost like we press it up. Without moving, push the knees away from each other, just to feel that widening action in the pelvis. Now, most of us have lower backs, lumbers that overwork. So as you stick the bum up and you're deepening the arch in the lower back and the lower back is engaging, you need to be sensitive, obviously, not to overdo it. One of the ways in which you then rebalance is you breathe into the lower back ribs. So essentially the lower back ribs expand and lift, but you don't want to again flatten the lower back. So it's a play of opposites again. And it's only through tuning in, becoming sensitive and aware of these areas that we get to begin to move them in ways that are aligned or appropriate or beneficial. Now, look at the hands, spread the fingers, the creases in the wrist are in line with the front of the mat. We're going to bend the elbows a couple of inches to the sides of the room. Without moving, we're going to grip with the fingers and thumbs. We're going to pull our hands toward each other, building a resistance through the arms and chest. And then maintaining that, we're going to begin to re-straighten the arms, pushing the earth down, or pushing the hands down into the earth. And as you do that, can you get into that feeling of the broadening of the shoulder blades in the upper back? The neck and head are lifted. Front of the throat is open, as we did before. And now, without moving anything or changing anything, pull your hands toward your knees. To see if you can build a little bit more resistance. Now, can you sustain what you're doing and breathe? Long, deep, steady breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you get to soften, little sway or movement just to release and shed. You know, because our pattern tends to be sympathetic nervous system, which again is contraction, effort, resistance, stuckness, that even when we're working in ways that will require effort, the old habit is to not let go fully. So you move almost like a little dance, just to encourage the body to really shed. Okay, come back through center, push the knees apart, take a deep breath and fill the ribs up, press the earth away. Without moving the legs or the hips, we're going to walk the two arms toward the left. We're just going to begin to arc to the left. Just hand goes step by step in a sense. And as you do that, the right side from the hip to the shoulder begins to extend. And as you meet tension, breathe. Breathe. Breathe into what you're meeting. Now the same work through the hands, that gripping action without moving the hands. Could you pull them toward you as if they're dragging toward the legs again? Just to see if you can connect that to how the belly tones. It gets longer and stronger. Again, you're breathing into wherever you're noticing tension. So this is one of the alchemical tools. The breath brings expansion into the effort and the contraction. For 3, for 2, and then soften, soften, soften. Come on back through center. Okay, little sway, little shrug, a little bit of movement. Just one more side. Deep breath, press the knees apart, bum sticks up, belly long, and we'll walk the arms in the other direction. As you meet tension, feel free to pause wherever you feel it's appropriate to do so. Breathe into what you're meeting. As the hands grip, without moving them, pull them toward you. That's it, a few more breaths here. 3, 2, and 1. Soften, come back through center. Again, as you get back to the middle, just let things move a little, just free it up. Okay, we're going to come all the way up onto our knees and step our left leg forward. And we're going to take the foot slightly forward of the knee. Now, if your knees are sensitive, you might want to pad the back knee. And you can work that out as we're going into the pose. You might feel it's necessary. But if you spread the toes in the 2 feet, and of course the front foot is in a normal standing position, the back foot, we're on the top of the back foot, on the toenails, top of the foot. So you're spreading the toes and you're pressing the feet down into the floor. So you're creating that engagement through the feet, through the ankles, into the lower legs. Maintain it. And then slowly begin to let the front knee and the hips sink forward. And again, if it gets too much for the back leg, knee, pad it. You get to pause wherever. Just breathe into whatever tension reveals itself in the body. Let the gaze stay toward the horizon. Try to keep the back foot active. Anchored in the solidity of the earth, safe. Breathe. Nice work. Okay, let's bring the hips back. And we'll change sides. So we'll take that one leg back and the other one forward. Again, let's have the ankle slightly forward of the knee. Before we go into the pose, let's work at the foundation. So again, this is a very conscious way of moving into any experience, even into our day, actively grounding. You know, particularly this time of year. This time of year is very much around the idea of light, of expanding. So a lot of practices will focus on this opening of the heart, opening of the chest, opening of the shoulders, the upper body, those parts that are about really being out in the world. And yet, if the foundation isn't really anchored, isn't steady, then everything else crumbles. So we pay attention to the foundation, the feet, the toenails pressing down, the top of the back foot pressing down. Whatever level of effort you can sustain, and then we'll begin to go deeper into the pose by bringing the hips forward, the knee. And you can pause along the way. You might find, okay, that's enough. I'm going to breathe here for a few rounds. And maybe you go deeper then. Take your time. Few more breaths here. Again, keep the back leg active. You'll notice the inclination to go to sleep in the back of the pose, back of the body. Okay, we're going to bring everything back again. We're going to go back to the first side. Take your time. Placing the front ankle slightly forward of the knee, coming to the breath, and then going down again to your foundation, setting it up. Take your time. When you're ready, we'll sink the hips forward. Keeping again the back leg actively anchoring into the earth. Now to play a little here, take the two hands to the rib cage, thumbs at the back, fingers at the front, so you're holding the ribs. First thing I want you to do, keep the legs, hips where they are, keep the 2 feet active. Begin to curl the gaze downward toward the floor or even curl toward the navel, and notice how the back ribs will swell underneath your thumbs. I want you to try to keep the fullness of the back ribs as you then bring the gaze slowly forward again, so that 2 or all sides of the ribs is full. And then I want you to literally lift your ribs away from your hips. Try to waddle the rib cage up. Try to keep the back ribs full, 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 full. Maybe the gaze lift a little. Breathe 5, breathe 4, breathe 3, 2, 1. And we bring it all the way back. Okay, beautiful. Just one more side. Take your time. Come back to the breath. Feel the feet anchored in the earth. When you're ready, front knee can sink forward. When you're ready, we'll go to the rib cage. Now in this position, we know that already those bottom back ribs will tend to have jutted forward, gotten smaller. So we want to fill them, we want to bring them into fullness. We curl the gaze down to open up the upper back and the back of the rib cage. Keep it full as you slowly reopen the front by bringing the gaze forward. And with the ribs pressing out into the hands, lift them up. Lift them up. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and again we'll come all the way back. Step back so you're on the 2 knees. So very simple on the knees, just close your eyes, let everything relax, bring the attention back to the breath. Belly soft. Okay, beautiful. So here, open the eyes, hands go to the base of the glutes. So knees, feet, legs, hip distance apart. Spread the toes. Now as you spread the toes, the feeling of the little toes trying to flare out to the sides. The big toenails pressing down. Top of the feet anchored in the earth. We're holding the base of the glutes. We're going to begin to move the hips back, but it's that part you're holding is the first part to move backwards. So you're trying to press that part back. Of course, as the hips go back in this way, the upper body leans forward a little. So you're sitting back now. At the point at which you feel that area, base of the glutes, back of the thighs, upper thighs begin to engage or fill or expand, that's as far as you go. Do you get that point where they're switched on? So what we're going to do is keep our hands here. We're going to keep the glutes actively pushing into the hands. The hands are pushing back into the glutes. We're going to keep that relationship as we just begin to bring the hips forward a little and back a little. So you don't go so far forward that they turn off, they disengage, just far enough forward that they maintain their level of engagement. Toes, feet, stay active. Just a few more rounds of this. This is just helping the bones in terms of the acetabula, the hip sockets, the femur bone, thigh bone, as they all connect into each other, realigning, coming into a healthy relationship. A few more of these. Perfect. And then come on up and release. Okay, so we're going to come back to sitting. Now, feel free to sit on something on your mat. Feel free to sit in a chair if you prefer to sit in a chair. Get into a comfortable position. And then when you're there, okay, so we're all, okay. So we did this, I think, last week. When we work with the legs and aligning again the hip, leg, hip as they connect into each other, and the hips are the foundation for the spine and the lower back, and our tendency is they're slightly off position, so that creates work that the lower back's not designed to do. So if we can re-establish, we lean over to, let's say we're leaning over on the left side, so we've got a little bit of access to the right side. We're on the right leg, we're holding inner thigh, and we're trying to work to hold or grab the glute. You tone the leg underneath your hands. You twist the inner thigh down. You pull the buttock up. So you're twisting, internal rotation of the upper leg. And then you release it. For a moment, just notice the two sides as you do that. And then we'll do the same work on the second side. Engage. You hold inner thigh and glute. You twist the inner thigh down. You pull the glute up. And then you release. And it should be relatively more comfortable than it was a moment ago, even though this is not an easy position. And of course, if it becomes painful or you need to move, you just do that. But similar to the work we were doing already, when you come into places that are a little tricky to be in, a little uncomfortable, part of it is your relationship to that discomfort. Sometimes it's you acknowledge it, you meet it, you go, okay, that's there, but that's all right, I can stay with it. And sometimes it's appropriate to just move, to not be in it. It's not benefiting you. So you get to discern. Rest the hands on the thighs. We're going to bring the index finger and thumb to gently connect. Close the eyes. Belly relaxes. Belly softens. Belly drops. Breathe through the nose. Just noticing your breath. Let your jaw soften. Your eyelids get heavier. Let your tongue rest in your mouth. Just noticing the breath as it is. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath. So I'll get you to slowly move onto your back. Get comfortable. If you have a blanket, use it. If you have something to drape over your eyes, you can use that also. As you let the body drop, both the physical experience of releasing, but also even saying it, using the mind to reiterate that you're surrendering here, you're releasing, you're letting go. Gentle awareness of your breath. Revelation must be terrible with no time left to say goodbye. Imagine that moment, staring at the still waters, with only the brief tremor of your body to say you are leaving everything and everyone you know behind. Being far from home is hard, but you know at least we are all exiled together. When you open your eyes to the world, you are on your own for the first time. No one is even interested in saving you now, and the world steps in to test the calm fluidity of your body from moment to moment, as if it believed you could join its vibrant dance of fire and calmness and final stillness, as if you were meant to be exactly where you are, as if, like the dark branch of a desert river, you could flow on without a speck of guilt, and everything, everywhere, would still be just as it should be. As if your place in the world mattered, and the world could neither speak nor hear the fullness of its own bitter and beautiful cry without the deep well of your body resonating in the echo. knowing that it takes only the first terrible word to make the circle complete. Revelation must be terrible, knowing you can never hide your voice again. Knowing you can never hide your voice again. Take some deeper breaths. If you feel like stretching your body, do that. And when you're ready, roll over to your right side. Get comfortable here. And then bring yourself up to sit. Sound Om. Take a deep breath. together in front of the heart. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase to ourselves and to each other. Namaste. Thank you. Good work.